We'll be talking about, I'll be taking us through leading change and what it means for growth beyond the crisis. Okay. And this session is intended more as a triggering thought and introspection for all the leaders on the call. So broadly, we will cover off what the background to the crisis is. We will do a sit rep on what is the status now, what's the transformation that's happening and the impact on the workforce, and what do leadership need to do about it. Can I just start with a few voices? And as Mario said, we have worked extensively across the globe, across sectors, and the spectrum of companies, be it small and medium companies or large corporate, including MNCs. Here are some of the voices that we've heard from people. And see if you can relate to this, or maybe you're one of the voices. This is what we heard from a top leader in one of a global MNC. Leadership is scampering to find out what's working best. Another one, we have heard multiple leaders saying this, the team's going to have to step up. Another one, I need to monitor these guys closely, else I'm not sure what they're up to. All this coming from leaders of large companies. And on the other hand, you have people at the mid and even some leaders saying, I'm feeling stressed, my days are longer. I'm seeming to be on calls. He's on my case. He obviously meaning the manager. The goalpost is moving constantly. This we've heard across organizations. All discretionary spends are off. And this was the most surprising, where people have told us, our leaders are trying to do more of the same stuff. Our mid-management seem confused. Question here for introspection is, are these any of your voices, or have you heard them in your organizations? What's the background to the crisis? Basically, we've seen that life has got disrupted multiple ways: family, economy, the health system itself, consumers, it's supposed to be at the focus, but there are challenges of resources getting diverted. Okay, people are having to try and understand what is the combat mechanism, and we have to figure this out at quick speed. While around us, there's disruption on supply chain, the demand, market forces. Everything is seeming to change. A sense of ambiguity all through. And then what life was chugging along in a particular matter. Suddenly, everything went apart. And now the key is the speed and the quality of our response. It's highly critical. So what is it that we need to do? What we figured now, and this is not my statement, this is coming from a leading member of a European Health Forum. Richard has said, there was competition earlier, cutthroat competition in the pharma sector. All of you are aware about this. But now we're moving towards rivals collaborating. Okay. We've heard this word before, collaborate, but it's taking on new meaning now. The situation is unprecedented. We've not seen anything like this before. Whether it is leaders in government or regulatory bodies, leaders of organizations or associations, no one seems to have a clue because they've not been prepared for this. And now there's a focus on partnership and collaboration. Keep these words in mind: collaboration, partnership. We'll keep harping on this as we go forward. Yeah. What we're seeing then is there is a new model of collaboration, and it is across the spectrum, be it in supply chain, technology, workflows, production. And so the whole thing is there is a massive shift. So what does this collaborative model look like? It basically is moving from competition to collaboration. And what do I mean by that? Basically, companies are collaborating now for R&D and drug discovery, for sharing marketing resources, development and manufacturing. In fact, the other day, 2 weeks back, I was speaking to the Association of Medical Devices, senior guys across India, and was hearing about stories where large MNCs are collaborating with smaller entrepreneurs for design, and the manufacturing would be done by someone else, and the big MNC would use its marketing strength to take the product to market. And the same entrepreneur was having collaborative tie-ups with 2 or 3 of these for different products. Great developments which are happening. We're also seeing a lot of collaboration across academia, labs, and industry. And governments are also getting into the play. What's the good thing? Now we are looking at improvement in efficiency, speed, and access to market. Where it was competition, now it's collaboration. Let's take a few examples of what's actually happening. Or is this just, just words? We are seeing this happening where the medical agency in Europe have been seeing pharma companies collaborate. They're seeing firms and labs across geographies collaborate. You can just see these 2 big names, and I was surprised when we did our research and found these 2 names, Glaxo and Sanofi, actually competitors, joining together. I have not seen this in my lifetime before. This is a good development happening because of this pandemic. We've also seen companies like AstraZeneca tying up with academia like Oxford to expedite development and testing. And the great news here is companies which were earlier trying to improve margins by same pricing across geographies are now looking at differentiated pricing between nations. That means pharma healthcare is becoming affordable and where the need is high. The purpose for pharma companies and organizations seems to have shifted to a broader vision. Here is a good report, and I would encourage you guys to also take a look at this. The Future of Jobs report, which was published in October 20. It talks about the impacts on the workforce. Basically, like we mentioned earlier, it's moving from competition to collaboration. Employees are getting redeployed. People are working from home, and there is a major focus on being flexible and agile, and continuous workforce reskilling is happening. And if you see the 2 graphics out here, it says a significant percentage that workforce processes need to be digitized, and about 75% of the people surveyed have said that there needs to be more opportunities to work remotely. Okay, and what is some of the barriers? You see a significant percentage, upwards of 70 people have said, 70% of the people have said there are skill gaps in the current workforce which needs to be addressed, and there are skill gaps among the leadership. Point for thought. Okay. Key takeaways from this: it is shifting. We have to collaborate. People have to be constantly lead skilled, both at the mid-level and at the senior level. And the new normal is working from home in a distributed workforce. Okay. The key thing to think about now is, as leaders, as people who are in the pharma sector or in the network, how are we going to respond to this? Are we going to take the lead, or be an also-ran? Wait for someone else to do stuff and then wait for things to happen? Or are we going to take the lead? Or are we going to be the guys who are going to adapt to, like in the cartoon there, are we going to take those wheels, or are we going to chug on and say, no, what's worked for me is what I'm going to continue doing? Okay. Are we ready for the new order of things? I would actually encourage each one of you all, if you'll have either a pen or paper or whatever, for this section, I would actually encourage you to put pen to paper or use your digital form, whatever. Just answer these questions on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay? Just a few thoughts. First one, does your organization have a list of challenges you're facing to go after? Is this listed out? Is this prioritized? Do you have it? If you have it, it's 10. If you don't, it's 1. Or you know what, it's evolving somewhere in between. You get the drift. Mark these questions on a scale of 1 to 10. You can do this. This is a sort of a self-assessment of the organization. Key question: are you being disrupted, or are you a disruptor? Are you making things happen, or are you waiting for someone else to tell you, or circumstances to dictate how you and your organization will react, or teams will react? Okay. Is our company an algorithmic company? That is, we have prioritized our issue types. Our leadership has also got this and they are aligned. And we have SOPs in terms of what we need to do in an ambiguous situation. Here is another encouragement. I would encourage you all to read up on a case study, a Harvard case study called Parable of the Sadhu. It really talks about decision making or leadership in ambiguous situations. The reference is again Parable of the Sadhu. It's a Harvard business study case. Okay. Continuing on with these questions here. Is our culture within the company, are we ready to change this culture to align with what are the future trends? The answer is yes. It's closer towards a 10 or whatever. Use the 1 to 10 scale. How are we mapping our growth? Are we still in survival mode? Are we at growth mode? And how are we balancing it? And more importantly, how are we balancing this so that we can innovate rapidly at scale? Are we dealing well as an organization or team with the curse of success? That is, we've got used to success in the past. Okay, even the pandemic, we've seen many pharma companies actually showing growth. But are we ready for change for the future? Are we as an organization, leadership, and as a large team, are we ready? Now, how do you balance these key metrics? And how important are people in this balance? Are you creating a next level of leaders for the future? Is there a bench strength? Basically, take this as a check for, are you ready for leading change? You have marked these out on a scale of 1 to 10 each. Okay. If your score is anything less than 40 or 50% of the total, it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call to introspect, look at what needs to be done, and take action. We can't afford to spot jog. What worked for us in the past will not get us there in the future. Okay, time to act. Basically, what you're saying here from the reports that we saw and the previous slides, the future of work is we need to be agile. There's technology changes happening. People are going to be working remote. And the key is to sustain the momentum of a strong workforce. New skills have to be picked up, new focus areas, hard skills and soft skills. Competencies are getting redefined. Behaviors have to get upgraded. And most of it all, the focus has to be on leadership driving this change. Okay. And this, for the leadership, what does it mean? The future has to be co-created. Change is continuous. You have to adapt to it. There's no way the old norms do not work. We have to get into a mode of collaboration and be very nimble as an organization. And this culture has to get permeated across the organization. It's a key driver for this. Okay, our workforce more so because they are working remote. You heard the voices on slide 1, right? And if you continue to say, when we have to create a culture of collaboration and continuous learning, we can't afford to say the discretionary spends are off. Are your people discretionary spends? Or are we forcing them to get on to, okay, there is time now, you guys are at home, so training has to be done, so online courses are there, so many online courses need to be done. Are they relevant? Are they prepping them for the future? Or is it stressing the workflows out? So basically, for leaders, in the new normal, these are some of the key areas: collaboration, continuous change, and continually working on building up the workforce. And some of our suggestions here are, we have to look at leadership simulations. Okay, we have to do what, and this is what we've been working on with many companies, especially the large ones. And surprisingly, SMBs are taking this up, where the top level leadership is getting coached on how to manage for the future. Okay, and this has to be done differently. No more do workshops work. It has to be done virtually, and it has to be done with engaging mechanisms like virtual games. Assessments have to be very innovative. The tried and tested ones, again, they don't work. Coaching for the leadership has to be personalized one-on-one. And this has to be in terms of the key competencies required for the future. Varies from the company to company. Give you an example, we've been doing the coaching and group mentoring for about 34 people in a Mumbai-based firm. And what we found there is the leadership in a matter of 2 to 3 months. And this has been continuing right up to the pandemic. They were very well equipped when this hit. And through the coaching and group mentoring, they've been able to adapt and make the required changes very well. And this whole change management system is what is critically required for all organizations. I'll give you another example of a couple of cases. We've been talking to guys who've been in, like I said, in the digital medical devices firms. We are seeing a lot of collaboration happening there between pharma companies and with big marketing networks and guys who are smaller and labs who are innovating. The speed to market is definitely getting crunched. It's getting heightened because of a collaborative approach. Another one, in terms of, we've seen guys recently, one of my clients who's in gloves has tied up with an international company who's coming to India. They're collaborating where a couple of the products the MNC is taking pan-India. And this guy is coming up with more, he's focusing more in terms of innovation and manufacturing and product development. We are seeing this sort of collaboration happening across sectors, not only in the pharma or healthcare. We are seeing it in auto components, manufacturing. We are seeing this happen in education, learning, in retail. Across all these sectors, a lot of this is happening, including in heavy chemicals. The point I'm trying to drive is, once leadership and the organization decide that continual investment in people is required, especially more so in these challenging times when it's not spend on people is not discretionary spend. It is an investment. And that's very much required as we're going to chart the future. Questions for us is, are we looking at it as a crisis now? Or are we looking at it as an opportunity? And the key part is, we always seem to know what to do or the right thing to do. But the actual hard part is getting down to doing it. So the call to all of us, and I'd like to end with this, the call to all of us as leaders now, it's very clear what we need to do. We need to get algorithmic, continual learning, keep focusing on the people. What is to be done is out there. There are people in networks, associations who are there. People are there to help. You just need to begin to act. So in terms of what I would say for leading change, growth from a crisis situation, act now, choose wisely. Thank you so much for being patient.